Hi, my name is Michi Held. Welcome to Daily Drum Lesson. Today we're going to check out 5 Ringo Starr grooves. One of my former drum teachers told me years ago, you either love Ringo or you don't understand him. And I think that's kind of true. Of course, he's not a very technical drummer, but he crafted so many unconventional but perfectly fitting drum grooves that he belongs on any serious greatest drummers of all time list. But who cares? Ringo is awesome, and here are 5 awesome grooves. The grooves I picked are all kind of different. They are definitely not what you would expect, but they work so well as a part of the music. The order is just chronological. We start in 1963 with the chorus for She Loves You. The whole thing is a 2-bar phrase. And the first bar is just this basic 8th note groove, but the right hand plays on the floor tom instead of the hi-hat or the right cymbal. The first half of the second bar is exactly the same. But then we get to this quarter note triplet, starting with floor tom and kick, and then 2 flams on the snare. To make this easier to read, we can also notate this as 2 8th note triplets. You will often find notations for this song where these last 2 snare flams are written as offbeat 8th notes. To me that doesn't sound correct, and I'm sure Ringo didn't really think about whether he was playing offbeat 8th notes or a quarter note triplet. He was just playing the music. But let me play these 2 back to back so you can hear the difference. Let's move on to the year 1965 and the song I Feel Fine. This again is a 2-bar phrase, and Ringo plays this, let's call it reversed mambo. When you play a mambo, you would normally play the cross stick on beat 2 and the toms on beat 4, but here it's just the other way around. The second bar has a tiny variation. We play an additional tom and an additional right bell on count 1A. This is not easy because the song is ridiculously fast. Later in 1965, the Beatles released Help, and on that album is another Ringo masterpiece, Ticket to Ride. And this is the point where the whole concept of drum notation doesn't really work that well. Ringo plays his part very loosely, and it is impossible to show his feel in a notation which is still readable and makes sense. Let me show you what I mean. Here is a perfectly flattened version of his groove. So what Ringo does is he plays that flam on the tom a bit earlier. So you could notate that as the middle note of an eighth note triplet, and this is how I like to think and how I hear that groove. There is also another interpretation for that groove, that it is basically the same thing as in She Loves You, with a quarter note triplet or two eighth note triplets in the end, because that flam on the snare is a bit late. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to this, it's somewhere in between, and you really have to listen to the song and get a feel for the music. Here is how the quarter note triplet version would sound. Later in the song he straightens the whole groove and plays this, which gives the whole song a totally different feel. Classic Ringo magic. We stay in 1965, but move to a different album, Rubber Soul, with one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time, In My Life. Check out the Johnny Cash version as well. No drums, but nonetheless a masterpiece. I put a link in the description. This groove is as simple as it gets, but again, special and different, with just one hi-hat stroke in it. There is a great video where Ringo's drummer Greg Bissonette talks about it. I'll put a link in the description as well. And last but not least, you probably knew this was coming, Abbey Road's Come Together. There is so much discussion about this groove and how he orchestrated the tom part. Here is how I hear it. We start with 2 eighth notes on the right cymbal together with the bass drum, and then the 4-stroke ruff on the hi-hat. No discussion to that point. On Abbey Roads, Ringo used a 5-piece drum kit, so he had 3 toms. And since he was left-handed but played on a right-handed drum kit, he started with his left hand, which makes the orchestration kind of weird. I like to think of this as 2 groups of 5. For the first 5 notes, he just plays the high tom. And then his left hand stays on the high tom, but his right hand moves to the middle tom for 1 note and to the floor tom for the other 2. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you liked this, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, write a comment. If you want to make more videos like this possible, please consider donating to my Patreon campaign. There is also a link in the description, and I see you next time. Bye bye.